Now, every September 11th, we remember the attacks on our country and pay tribute to the lives lost, the heroes in action that gave everything selflessly to those in need of their help.
And for many affected, every day can be a harsh reminder to never forget. Today, we're joined by a retired New York City Board of Education staff developer and early childhood education expert who revisits the profound impact of that day through her book, and was established in memory of her son, Christopher Santora, brave firefighter who lost his life while saving others at the World Trade Center. And we want to give a heartfelt welcome to Maureen Santora. Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your story with the world. Now, before we get started on this collection, Maureen, I'd love to hear a little bit about Christopher.
Well, Christopher was very, very bright. He had a wonderful memory, and he loved American history. He knew more about American history than anybody I've ever met. He read all the books, knew all the battles, knew all the stories, and he majored in history when he was in college, but his dream from the time he was a little boy was to become a firefighter. And he was offered a job. He taught a little bit in the New York City public school and was offered a permanent position, and he turned it down because he knew he was going to be in the first class of the new list, and he was in January of 2001. And this was the best time of his whole life. He thought this was the best job in the world, and I'm very comforted to know that my son at 23 found his dream job and was very, very happy, although it was short-lived, but he fulfilled his dream. And that's one of the reasons that the books, were written to help students know that, if they have dreams and they're willing to work hard and they're willing to persevere, they will be successful in life. And for all of us in in the 9/11 community, the big tragedy was not that the buildings came down, it was that the people that we loved died on that day through no fault of their own. So, the books try to help young people, junior high school, college, understand that, when you grow up, you're not always perfect. You don't always have, great days, but if you stay with it, you continue to work, and you have a loving family and you people that love you around you, you will turn out just great, like all these people did.
What wonderful advice.
So true. Maureen, I'm curious, you mentioned he went through the first class there as a firefighter in January of 2001, you said. Talk to me maybe about the conversations you had with him over the next 9 months about fulfilling his dream, the pride maybe you had felt as a mom, and then obviously kind of the complete turn it took come that September morning.
Well, he was joyous every single day. He went to work. They shaved all the heads. It was wintertime in New York, and I'm furious that they shaved everybody's head. But that was to equalize everybody, and they made him go out, with a cap, because I said you're gonna get sick. And he was always so mad at me that I made him take the cap. I'm sure he took it off as soon as he, left the house. But he came home every day with stories about, all the things he was learning and how exciting it was. And, even though, he had to study, as I say, he had a great memory. So studying, was not difficult for him. But he was joyful and happy. And I was very happy that he was so content and joyful about his new profession, that he, was involved in. And so, when he got into, he graduated in June, he was assigned to an engine company that had a ladder and a battalion near Times Square. And, the firemen would push all the new boys out, and Christopher was one of them, and they'd meet all the girls. He was so happy to meet firefighters, and he just thought this was the greatest job in the world, so he kept saying, I want to go to a big fire, and little did he know that he got into the biggest fire that New York City has ever seen, but I know he went with love and excitement and joy, and he, saved people, and that was what his dream was. He wanted to be, somebody that was a helper in our society, and he was.
A very rare person, Maureen. Now, could you tell us a little bit about this collection of stories and, of course, your mission to keep all of these stories of lives lost, keep them alive and vibrant and real for generations to come?
Well, the We Remember book is a collection of stories written by parents, siblings, and best friends who knew these individuals as they were growing up, because I wanted young people to know that it's hard to grow up. It's difficult. You make mistakes, but that's okay. And if you learn from your mistakes, you move ahead. And if you have love in your life from people that you know, not only your family, but friends and relatives, and you have a dream and you're willing to work hard to fulfill that dream, your dream will come true and you'll be successful in life, as all these people were. They have a common thread. As I read the stories, I sent out an email to the 9/11 organizations, and I asked families who wanted to contribute to write. And so the people who were in the book are the ones that wrote to me and shared their story, and they said how difficult it was to do this, but they were very happy that they did, because they wanted also for their children, their brothers and sisters, their best friends, to be remembered in a special way. And the stories are just extraordinarily wonderful. And my family, all contributed as well. My son had 3 sisters, and he used to say, oh, the sisters are so messy, and I hate being in the bathroom with them, and complained all the time. But they wrote these amazing stories, for people to, laugh, enjoy, understand, and realize that the tragedy of that day was that the people were lost, that the people who had done nothing wrong except go to work or try to help, were the ones that were killed because of hatred. And I wanted hatred to be the underlying message, that we should never, never, never in our lives hate anybody. We can be mad, we can be upset, we can be furious, but if you hate somebody, usually the person that you hate doesn't even know that you hate them. So they go off unscathed, and you're ruining your life with this terrible black hole in your life. So I wanted kids to know, and I wanted readers to know, that we have to work very hard at not hating anybody and wishing them harm, because it harms us more than it harms them.
So very true.
Maureen, just one last question for you. I'm curious about the timeline for you personally as you were putting this project together. Just how long it took you to even be willing to start it, but maybe also how you and some of those contributors found a little bit of healing in doing this project as well along the way.
Well, it was a very healing experience for everybody. And as I said, they all wrote to me. I became friends with these individuals. I didn't know who they were prior to this, endeavor. But they all said how difficult it was. And yet it was very cathartic, because they had to remember things about their children. I didn't want them to be described as perfect. I wanted them to be described as real. And so they, we laughed a lot, we cried a lot, when I read the stories, I had tears in my eyes for most of them, and others I just laughed because the presentation was just, telling of a very funny, event or whatever. And so it was a good mix of tremendous tales of love. And I decided to do this because my son was a history buff, and he wanted to make sure, that history was told accurately. So these are stories that are true, and they're written in the hands of ordinary people who just had great love for the people that died. And I'm just very grateful that they contributed, and I'm very, very grateful that I was able to, put the book together. And, I've redone, several pieces of the book. And so this is the updated version, with the E-Wings publishing company. But new things have developed. And so over the course of 23 years, I wanted to update it. And so that I did. But I'm very proud of this book, and I'm very proud of the stories that people took the time to write. And it did help all of us to continue our journey in grief. You never get over what happens when you lose your child. The only thing you can say is that you change, and you get to choose how you're going to live the rest of your life. And I wanted it to be, for me, remembering and making sure that people also remembered that the people were the important part of the 9/11 story.
Maureen, thank you so so very much for taking the time to share all of this with us this morning. We could chat all day long with you, but unfortunately we're out of time. We're going to make sure that all the links that our viewers need to get a copy of this book, it's all going to be available after the show today over on our website, 9and10news.com. Maureen, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you this morning.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking with both of you as well. Thank you again.
Yes, likewise, and thanks for sharing your son's memory with all of us here on Good Day.
You.